Yo, welcome back to the second to last episode here on Crash Out League TV. It's saddest to say that I have
Yep.
no
Yep.
excitement, but as all good things have to come to an end.
Very
And
true. Very true.
season one here on the Crash Out League TV is coming sooner than we think. So let's continue to have some fun with it. Let's go ahead. It's your boy A Dub, and I'm with my co-host Manny Boy, and man, we are in championship week. We headed into week two, but before we get into that, Manny, let's go ahead and dive into what happened this past week.
Yes, sir. Championship on the line, man, but there's plenty of action going on around the league. So we pull it up. You can see here on our fantasy recap in the Crash Out League, Smooth Criminal gets a dub over GBK, so he will find himself in third overall. Then we have Coach Cam getting a win over DMV Bombers. Not really much to talk about there. 124-57. It's been a rough go for the man leading Team DMV Bombers. And then in that other game, you have Jay Gibb, Coach Jay Gibb, and run it back getting a win, picking up a big time win, taking down Shake and Bake. But of course, the one that you all want to know, the one that you all want to figure out what's going on, MoCity Menace and Team Luck duking it out. And right now, man,
Man,
it is a huge lead for Coach Preach.
man,
And I mean, I will say I did predict this because he's been putting up major points, but it seemed like all the pressure really was on Coach Luck and that team over there. But nonetheless, we still have another week to go. Anything can happen in this league. But as you can see there, it is a 53-point lead for Coach Preach and MoCity Menace over there, looking to capture their first championship in this league.
yeah, man. I mean, it's pretty significant when you say the number 53 when we talking about a lead in the championship weeks because, like everybody knows in the championship rounds, you get 2 weeks to compete, and you would try like to keep the margins as close as
Mm-hmm.
possible
Yeah.
for somebody to explode the second week for you to be able to eclipse that pressure and get over the top to get the win. But
Right.
53 is pretty significant. I mean, for the only way possible for this to go how Luck wants to go is Coach Priest has to have a shitty week two, and Coach Luck still has to put up an impressive number in week two. But let's go ahead and look at the scores specifically to see this explosive play by
Let's take
MoCity
a look.
Menace.
Absolutely.
Let's start off at the quarterback. You know, Jalen Hurts going for 28, having an unbelievable game. Right after they said he couldn't pass the ball, they was having passing issues. Then he comes out here and go 25 for 32 for 290 and 2 touchdowns, and of course still getting his tush push touchdown at the end of the day. You know what I mean? But then you got Joe Burrow putting up, a decent 16 points, Manny. 16 points is pretty decent to get from your quarterback. But it's hard to look at it that way when you got a stud over there putting up almost 30 points.
Yeah, and then especially you would have hoped more from Burrow just from the fact that they're going against Tennessee. You know, it is a bit of a down team right now in the way that they sit, and so you're hoping really they were going to light it up against them, but it just didn't happen. You lost a fumble, just that takes away your points. So now what you're hoping from your star QB who's been giving you 30 bombs pretty much week in and week out.
Right, right. Then we go to this running back room. You got Derrick Henry, James Conner versus Bijan Robinson and Josh Jacobs. And this was pretty even right here. I mean, James Conner carried Coach Preach
Right.
in
Yeah.
this week for his running backs, but it was just enough, just because other guys decided to explode. Once we'll talk about that once we get there. But at the end of the day, as you see, his star player that we all thought when he came back was going to help him win the championship didn't even have a good week. Derrick Henry went for 6 points. He only had 67 yards on 14 carries. The Giants figured out some way, somehow, to put him in a box and take him out the game. I mean, I don't know if it's because he cut his dreads, he lost his superpower, but something was off on this
Something
week.
happened.
But
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
Yeah, definitely. But still, the running back room advantage goes over to Coach Luck. And again, we talked about him going for the big time running backs, and you can see it there 36, whereas on the other side, you have yourself 35. No, my apologies. Yeah, no, I'm right. My math is right. I'm cool.
You
I'm like that.
got 37 on Preach side and 36 on Coach Luck's side.
So that 30 bomb from James Conner, like you talked about, that was more than enough to get him. And I think this is where we see the beginning of where Coach Luck starts to falter a little bit, because these are you're supposed to be your guys.
Mm,
You're supposed to go all in on your running back, and it's just not working for you.
yeah, it's quite unfortunate, and it just goes downhill from this point on because we already thought that Coach Preach had the advantage at the receiver position, and his guy showed up and showed that for him. I mean, he won in the receiver room as well, and getting that win in the running back and quarterback room is kind of hard to compete when you keep losing in each phase of the game because each phase of the game is important.
Yeah, this was an 8-point win for that receiver room, and it's just, again, we talk about a 50-point deficit. You might not think, man, Coach Luck wasn't putting up anything. No, he was. It was just these little like points that add up over and over until you get to that big time 50-point lead going into week 2.
Yep. Then we talk about the tight end. I think, you was right last week. I think I went Brock Bowers, and he didn't really have a game like he should have against Atlanta. And, that's what new quarterback play, and
Yep.
Atlanta
Yep.
having a
Definitely.
great, strong safety in Bates that could cover. So they pretty much locked him up. But Kittle also didn't have the bestest of games that he usually have these past couple of weeks, only putting up 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, this whole season, when you look back on, this has been a pretty down year for tight ends as a whole. I think a lot of people really thought from the big time stars, you were going to get a lot more points, and you were going to hope that Travis Kelce was going to be that number one clear tight end, and that just hasn't been the case, unfortunately, for a lot of people that bought in early for a tight end. So, yeah, a bit of a down year nonetheless, but you can't have a down game here in the championship round.
Yeah, and speak of having a down game, look at this flex position, man. Look at this flex position. We talking about is the new meta running backs rooms getting drafted early, or the meta just we still gonna draft wide receiver early in the PPR league? And I don't want to just base it off this one game, but both of these coaches has been dominant all season long. One going with the running back idea and one going with the receiver idea. And when they clash, the separation comes right here in the flex, man. I mean, we just went over it down the list together. In the quarterback room, Coach Priest got it. In the running back room, Coach Priest got it by 1 point.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the receiver room, Coach Priest got it by 8 points. These margins aren't that big. You
Not at
could
all.
easily come back from that if your flex position decides to pop up, and this is where the ideas come into play. Are we doing running back dominance? Are we doing wide receiver dominant? And this past week, the wide receivers were dominant when it comes to competing in the flex position because Devontae Adams with a whopping 42 points is insane. I mean, it was the highest points put up on Coach Priest's team that week. It showed up for him in the best situation that it could. And Kyle Williams just couldn't produce enough. I mean, to go for 108 yards or 29 carries, that's a great game for a running back. That is a great game. But when
Yeah.
we talk about PPR, man, it's not going to add up enough to be able to keep up with a flex position in a wide receiver.
No, definitely not. I think obviously you look at the scores, right, of those games. It was 32-25, and on the other side, it was 12-6. It was really just a nasty, ugly game that wasn't
Mhm.
very clean on the side of the Rams and the 49ers. It was one of those where it was a slugfest, yeah, sure, but not many points going at it with each other. And so, yeah, I think this is where, if some people were hopping on the running back train, they're hopping right back off. This is clear as day as to who can maintain and give you those kind of points. And I mean, we've seen it time and time again. It's more common that somebody's going to catch a 50-yard bomb because they got behind coverage than
Mhm.
a running back's going to break, a power to the left or to the right for 50 yards. Because not only do you have to get through the defense, you got to get through linebackers and you got to get
Yep.
through the secondary. So
Yep.
it just makes it that much more difficult. You hope Kyron Williams was going to give you something more if you're a coach Luck, but I mean, to go for 42 with Devontae Adams, man, there's not much more you can do.
I think it just feeds into the idea and thoughts of, do you want a consistent player that's going to do his job, or do you want somebody whose ceiling when they explode is very high? And when
Right.
it comes to a PPR league, the people who has that potential are more in the receiving realm. Like if you have a running back who receives the ball a lot, then I could see where I could put an extra running back in a flex position because he's going to receive the ball like Devon Acham, or sometimes they dump it off to Joe Mixon on screens
Right.
and
Yeah.
things like that. So like we talk about players like that, yes, I can understand that. You know what I mean? But the meta is just not changing at the moment based
No,
off this
not quite
game.
yet. No, not quite yet.
And then we go down here, we look at special teams. They was even at the defensive position, so no arguments there. And at the kicker position, it just helped Coach Preach even more going up 7 points. I mean, when you just going based off everything that we just talked about, Manny, I think Coach Luck only won in one category, and that category was only up by maybe less than 4 points.
Yeah, yeah. This was really one of those things where you want to think about, well, what does it say about either coach? What does it say about Coach Preach's ability to perform in a high pressure game? Right, been here before, hasn't been able to get his hands on a trophy yet. But what does it also tell you about Coach Luck? And is this something that is it a mental block that you get to a championship, but you need that extra step to get you there?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, I'm gonna talk about Coach Priest first. I think at this point, when it comes to seeing what the performance that we've been seeing and what we've seen in the past, I think this just shows that Coach Priest knows ball. Coach
Yeah,
Priest
definitely.
knows which guys need to be in at what period of time. Because many, I mean, let's go over it. His playoff run so far. Not only did he go for 173 in the championship, he went for 164 in the second round.
Yeah,
That score also
yeah,
beats out Coach Luck in the
yeah,
championship.
absolutely. Yeah,
48 in the first round. That score also beats Coach Luck championship run. I mean, whether you use one of these three scores, he knows ball and he's putting guys in regardless of injuries and buys. He's figuring out a way to get a win, and his guys are stepping up. Like we said,
right.
Derrick
Yeah,
Henry and Brock Bowers has not shown up yet, and he's still putting up good numbers. Like week in, week out in the playoffs, he's getting better and better and better. 148, 164, 173. I wouldn't be surprised if we see our first 200 this week coming up.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very possible. Again, you would say that there's no way that his team doesn't score at least 30 points. As a whole. I mean, one player might go for 30, and
Yeah.
that'll give him the 200 ball right there, the way that it sits. So I definitely think this is going to get dangerous, especially if Coach Luck can't find a way to A, rally the troops, and B, see if he can figure out the right pieces. AW, you can go ahead, pull up those rosters once more. I'd like to take a look and see if we can do some kind of hindsight 2020 vision and see if maybe there was a way for Coach Luck to maybe fill this gap a little bit. If we go down to the bench, we know what the starters did, but if we go down to the guys that he has in the reserves and maybe see if there was anything that could have changed this, and unfortunately You guys see it there. Unfortunately, not really. I mean, Jerry Jeudy gives you 21, Smith gives you 19. Like that would have helped you certainly. Especially on the tight end part. I think that's the biggest one. His tight end only put up 7. No, his tight end only put up, I believe, 6.
It was
Was
10.
what
He put
10.
up 10.
So that gives you 9 extra points. That cuts it down. Jerry Jeudy, that helps you as well. But maybe in place of Drake London. But again, the trade off's not huge. That's not a big time difference. It's not like you had somebody on the bench that went for 30 and you left them there. That's not the case. And so looking forward to this next week, right? If this bench stays the same, you have DeAndre Hopkins who's going back to Houston. Do you take a chance on him having a revenge game? Not really, because he hasn't been super productive for the Chiefs at this point. Is he going to be super productive all of a sudden out of nowhere? You think about Jacoby Myers, he's heading down to Jacksonville. That could help you. Sure, Jacksonville hasn't been great against the pass, but nonetheless, he's only projected to give you 15. Jerry Jeudy's been consistent, but against Cincinnati, he's only projected to give you 13. And Smith, he's going against San Francisco. And we know that that's a very difficult defense to play against. They're ranked second against tight ends, only giving you 11. So unless Coach Lucky is really set and confident in the guys that he has in his starting lineup, he's going to have to take some chances with the reserves. And it's going to be difficult. It is. It's going to be really difficult to kind of figure out, okay, am I going to go with that guy? Am I going to go with this guy? This guy has a chance to go crazy, but nonetheless, are you going to go with that feeling, or are you going to say, no, I'm going to stick with the guys that I got coming out?
I mean, we're sitting here talking about the decisions that Coach Luck needs to make coming up in this week just because he's down 53 points. 53 points is a lot, man. It's
It
a
is.
lot to
Yep.
try to not only put up major points, but put up enough that eclipse that 53 points that you
Right.
need.
Right.
So by just saying that, are we confident to say that Coach Preach has locked it in the bag? Like, what percentage would you give it that, maybe the commissioner go ahead, get the address, and sent the Lombardi trophy already?
Listen, man, we've seen some crazy things happen in football, but when you lead by 53, I think you would have to actively sabotage your team to not get to that point. Now, we understand injuries are a thing. Yes, that is a thing, but again, the matchups are much more favorable for Coach Preach in the sense of James Conner's heading out to Carolina. Carolina is the worst ranked team against running backs. That's going to be an eat day for him, definitely. Justin Jefferson going against the Seattle defense. They're ranked 18th against wide receivers. And against Justin Jefferson, you could probably drop that ranking a little bit lower because he is one of the better wide receiver. Probably, you could argue, the best wide receiver in the league. And again, Devontae Adams is one of those players where he does have that good rapport with Aaron Rodgers, and he can say, dude, look, you see what happens when you give me the ball. Give me the ball more. And that could just continue to increase his touches. So if you're asking for a percentage, man, I'm going to go ahead and say this one's 85, 90% done, man.
That's pretty nice, man. That's pretty nice.
Put the fork in it, man. Cut through it. It's done. This thing is over. You would need, as we talk about, it's just that it's because it's that large of a deficit that any way you think about it, somebody has to go crazy. And it's not just somebody. Everybody has to go crazy. Joe Burrow has to give you that 30, 35 again. Bijan has to go into the 30s. Each of your players has to go into the 30s, and you have to hope that on the other side, it's going to be stinkers up and down the line. And really, I don't see that happen.
Yeah. I think he was pretty nice about that response. I'm going to go with more 95, 98% up into the bag because, like you said, the margin is just too wide. I mean, if Priest just does what Coach Luck did last week and put up 120, then Coach Luck got a match with Priest did last week and put up 173. And I mean, Coach Luck has put up points like that, but not consistently enough like Coach Preach has all season. So it had to be one of his bestest of games. And he just don't have the matchups for this week to show that he could put up those type of numbers. So I'm gonna go more 95, 98% that the commission go ahead and get that address, get the money ready. Because we might be coming back on this show next week and announcing the winner as MoCity Menace. That's just me though.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you could there is always that question of, if MoCity Menace takes his foot off the gas pedal, right, kicks his feet up and says, "Man, I got this thing in the bag," does that give a chance for Team Luck to slip through the door and come through? And again, to me, it's no. Now, I will say, if Coach Preach kicks his feet up, takes a foot off the gas pedal, doesn't even look at Sleeper this week, and says, "Man, my team's got it," I think it gets close. I think it can get close if you're not paying attention. But again, I mean, you're in the 98, 95 range. I'm in the 85 to 90 range. I think it's just too much of a deficit. Now, that doesn't mean that it's been a bad season overall for Coach Lucky, because you've made it to the championship. But of course, it is going to, I do think this one leaves a sour taste in his mouth, just because you were hoping to have much better of a performance. I mean, this is two Titans going at each other, and you were really hoping to duke it out. And unfortunately, at least the way it looks right now, Coach Lucky's in the corner spitting out his mouthpiece and asking how many more rounds do I have left, because this one's difficult. This one's difficult. So I definitely think that if he kicks his feet up, the door might be slightly open, but yeah, it might get shut right as soon as he tries to slip into it.
Sure. If you leave an opportunity for anybody that's your opponent look down on them, I mean, it can be a chance. It's just 53 points is a lot. But I mean, like, speaking on Coach Luck, this is his second year of making it to the championship. I mean, he went to the championship back-to-back seasons. And in back-to-back seasons, it has resulted in the same thing, just big blowout games. So, I mean, at this point, I mean, I know we both love him. I know we love the way that he coaches and how he handles the regular season and goes throughout the playoffs, but it just seems like once he gets to the championship, I don't want to say, but he kind of starts to choke, man. Like, do we question the coach's ability to win championships when the lights are the biggest and he's on the biggest stage?
I think it's easy to kind of nitpick, right, and say, "Man, you made it here twice and you can't get it done," and I think the response to that is, yeah, well, a lot of people don't get here at all.
Yeah.
And I'm consistently fighting for a championship, and you can say consistently because it has been now 2 years in a row that he's found himself in this position. So to me, it's too early to say that Team Luck can't get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, this is, yes, his second time, but it's with a whole new team. You got different players. Some are the same, but some are new, and it sucks. But I think if we come back to this point next season and it's the same story again, I think it's a complete mental thing for Coach Luck. And I think it just kind of starts to chip away at you, because I think the biggest thing to think about is the fact that Coach Luck, the mentality could very well become, yes, I win all this in the regular season, but what does it matter if I can't win the championship? And that's not the way to think about it. But at the end of the day, you want a Lombardi, you got to come out on top. And so, again, we could be sitting here next year in the same position, and he could be hoisting it. He could
True.
be ready to lift it, and
True.
we would never even think about the conversation that we're having now because he's just proved everybody wrong and got himself a championship. So I think you got to wait just a little bit longer to see if this is going to be a consistent, or it's just, you know what, man, got the better of me, got to go back to the drawing board, and we'll be back better than ever, you know,
Yeah,
coming in next year.
I could agree with you on that point. It's just one thing about me when it comes to, competing at any forms of life. It don't matter if we talk about fantasy, real football, basketball, tennis, it doesn't matter. If you are a competitor and you see yourself making it to the same stage, but you keep losing at that same stage, whether you a first round exit type of team or you a
Right. Yeah.
semifinals exit or final four exit type of team, there is something there that you just don't have or you don't get that's going to put you over the top.
Yeah. And it eats
And
away at you.
unfortunately,
Yeah. It eats
yep,
away at you.
unfortunately, that thing for Coach Luck is right here in the championship. And me personally, just based off, analysts and rumors around the league and stuff like that, I think it's a mindset type of thing for Coach Luck. I think he isn't, I don't want to say he isn't as hungry as Coach Preach is, but I think he's a numbers type of guy.
Mm.
I think Coach Preach comes in with a warrior mindset. Eat or be eaten. I don't care what we do. Put up as many points as you can. We want everything on the table. And I think Coach Luck is more of a, okay, as long as you get this much, we'll be all right. Because from just seeing talks around the messaging board and things like that, Coach Luck said like he didn't have a bad week. He put up 120. I mean, statistically wise, you're right. 120 through the regular season wins you a couple games, more than half
Right.
the games
Right.
throughout the year. You know what I mean? But we're talking about the championship. You know what I mean? This is where you need to switch your mindset from the regular season of as long as I'm in a range of 120, I should be good to win a game. Championships is where people pull out everything they got in them. We not leaving nothing up for discussion. So if you still on some, I'm coming in week one, figure him out, and still put up a decent amount of points, you're going to lose against coaches who are in a championship for the first time. And they're like, you know what? It's do or die time. It's here or now. I don't know if I'm going to make it next season. I'm going all out and I want it all. And when you go against a mindset like that versus a statistical guy, which is what I'm analyzing from the situation, it may not be that. But if it is, it's going to be hard for you to win. I mean, what else can I get from that, Manny? I mean, you can't just be complacent and think like 120 is going to do the job for you, man. Everybody's going to pull out all the energy, every stop, every play, every move that they got. And that's what Coach Preach essentially did. He had guys stepped up, like Devontae Adams, who've been struggling all season, and got him a 173 versus your 120. So I just think that's the thing that Coach Luck is missing is that switch in between regular season and playoffs. He still plays like he's in regular season when he gets to the playoffs. And that might work to get through the first round and maybe even the second round. But once you get to the championship with another coach who also clawed their way all the way up, you got to play the best ball you ever played before. And I just don't see that from Coach Luck.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then again, you just kind of start thinking about, okay, when this time comes around next year, when it's time to figure out who's going to be on my team and the draft board and everything like that, are you going to be, does that eat away enough at you for you to change up your strategy completely and say, man, I'm going to go for guys that swing for the fences? And some weeks they might put up, 5, 7,
Dude,
but right, exactly. Or they might give me a whole goose egg
a
and give me
whole
nothing.
donut.
Right.
Cooper
Or,
Cup. God damn.
don't worry, folks. It's okay. It's okay. Let us know if you had Cooper Cup give you 0 in the playoffs. But nonetheless, or they could go for 40. They could go for 50. But again, that's not sustainable. So it really becomes a delicate balance on how you want to figure out your team. But speaking of your team, right, and things like that, I think there's players that we need to highlight specifically that gave Preach this kind of lead. And so really, I think we go into our MVPs and our LVPs for this week. And I think it's obvious for me, and I don't know if it is for you, but an MVP goes to MoCity Menace and it goes to Devontae Adams.
No, for sure, for sure.
That's
Couldn't be
that's
nobody else.
that's the biggest that's the biggest factor in this split.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we talked about it was a slight margin of victory in the receiver room, and it was a slight margin of victory in the running back room. This should have been a much closer game. We might have ourselves a 6-7 point game, and now we're talking about this is the position where Coach Lucky and that team can strike from, and easily overtake. But now that's not where we're at. Now you have that position where you are right at a 50-point deficit, and it is because, to me, fully on Devontae Adams.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt, man. I mean, 42 points, 42. You can only pray that your guy on the other side at least put up 20 points. You want to be in the range of 15, maybe 20 going into the week, but Devontae Adams just made that kind of impossible. But
Yeah, yeah,
that's just what it
and
was for these coaches.
right. And looking at that roster for you, AW, who's the LVP? Who's
MVP.
LVP, man? I know that's probably got to go. Well, I think you could make an argument it could go either way because Brock Bowers and Derrick Henry didn't have themselves a
Yeah,
fantastic showing.
they pretty much had similar with Derrick Henry going for 6.70 and Brock Bowers going for 6.50. I mean, when you are the number one running back in the league, supposedly, argumentatively,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And when you are picked second in the draft here in this league
yeah,
in the second round,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the expectations is set way higher than somebody who's a rookie, somebody who he's traded for who wasn't originally on the team.
Right, right, right.
Coach, if we ask Coach Preach himself who he depends on more, he's going to say Derrick Henry. So I'm gonna have to give
Absolutely.
this to Derrick Henry for not showing
Yeah,
up that week.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. Again, you talk about it. You need your guys to play your best ball, and if Devontae Adams doesn't give you that, if he gives you, a 20 or a 15, a respectable game,
Yeah.
right? This game is so much closer.
Yep.
So you got to play your best ball, like you talked about. You have to, and so yeah, I both an MVP and an LVP. We'll go over to MoCity Menace and Coach Preach because Derrick Henry got to spit up. A lot of people are dependent on you, and yeah, this could be the difference of somebody getting a championship or not. Probably not here, but in some other league, this could be the difference about getting a championship or not. So I definitely think in what was supposed to be a big time fight between these two. Um, could end up being put to bed in week one.
Okay. So before we switch gears and go on to our NFL picks, one last question for you. Down 53 points. We all know it. We done said it all through the show over and over. I know you tired of hearing it, but god damn it, in fantasy, especially here in a crash out league, anything can happen. I'm talking about injuries. I'm talking about last minute mistakes. I'm talking about Cooper Cup moments putting up a donut. I mean, anything can happen to help Coach Luck get into this game. But just based off what you're seeing, man, what do you predict as the final score between these two, and who's the winner?
I think final score. I really think because right now, MoCity Menace is projected to put up 298 points.
Mm-hmm.
I think we see a 300 bomb. I think we see a 300 bomb. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and say, give me 305. 305
Okay.
302.40.
Okay.
I think the lead grows to 60. Again, it's just one of those things where it's too hard to overcome. But I think we see our first 300 bomb, and I'll go 305. I'll add a little bit to it.
Okay. Let me explain to y'all why that's so crazy. In 2 weeks, that means that your players have, somewhat on average put up 150 on each side of the week. And that is also crazy because there's no extra flex in this league. There's no extra quarterback position. This is straight up one quarterback, two running backs, two receivers, a flex, a tight end, and your special teams as kickers and defense. And those, like we said previously in the weeks, those are pretty much averaging 120 to 140. If you going over 135, your team had an unbelievable week here in the league. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that your team can average 150 and put up 300 is why it's so big. But I'm going to also go ahead and agree with you on the standpoint that I do think Coach Preach is going to pull this out. There's no doubt in my mind. But I'm going to go a little bit higher. I mean, I don't think Devontae Adams is going to give him another 42.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think he's going to give him anything close to that. But I think Brock Bowers and Derrick Henry going to show up this week.
Okay.
It is going to equal out for him to still shoot up there in that 160, 170 route. And if he does that, man, I'm going to go 330, 340. Ooh. Coach Preach. And then I'm going to give Coach Luck, out of respect, from the 120. I think they're going to have a better week. And I'm going to give him 55. I think he goes for 130, 140 this week, at best. I think Coach Priest could make this 100-point mark. That's just me. The way that they're playing, and without their best players even playing good, I think he can make it 100-point mark. But that's all talks about them, man. Let's go ahead and get to our favorite subject in the NFL picks.
NFL picks, man. Favorite time. So we talked about our record last week. Give you a little update on that. I sit 26-14, and you see him celebrating. A-Dub sits at 27-13.
I told you about the Bills, baby.
Over on me.
I told you about the Bills, baby. Yeah.
As we come into, I don't know, A-Dub, would you want to call this one our last segment, or are we calling next week our last segment?
Yeah, this will be the last one.
This one's okay. So this is for all of it, folks. One. This is for everything. All right, one game difference. Okay, so the games we have slated for y'all today: Broncos versus Chargers. That's happening on Thursday, prime time. We have Steelers and Ravens. That one is at Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Central Time, 4:30 p.m. if you are Saturday. On the coast. That is Saturday, actually. Ooh, Saturday football? Okay. Saturday football. And then we have the Eagles versus Commanders NFC East matchup going at that 12 p.m. Central Time on Sunday. Now, we will tell you we have a bonus game lined up if we're tied up at the end of it. And that will be the Jaguars-Raiders game, 3:25 Central Time.
Shitter.
But anything can happen in that one, so we don't care. So, nonetheless, go ahead and give me your Broncos-Chargers prediction. Again, that's Thursday, prime time, Central Time, Eastern Time, Western Time, whatever you want to call it.
Man, I mean, this one game difference, it leaves no room for mistakes, but just based off what I know currently, I know Pat Surtain went down last game.
Okay.
I haven't heard any updates if it was serious enough to keep him out of Thursday, but I would think since the game is so early based off Sunday, they might sit him.
Yeah.
And if they do that, they already missing a really good DB on the other side. I forget his name. I'm going to ride with the Chargers this week.
Okay.
I mean, this is a playoff position game. If I'm remembering correctly, the Broncos just took the Chargers' 6th spot. because they got the win last week and the
Yeah.
Chargers lost last week. So the
Yep.
Chargers went down to 7, with the potential of being put out. The other teams behind them continue to win. So they can't continue to lose. I know they know that. And the defense has been playing well all season. And Bo Nix has been struggling the past few weeks. So I think I'm going to go with LA and the Chargers with all that and with the Chargers being at home.
Yeah. See, it's always difficult to go on the road and pick up a win in the NFL, but I think the Broncos do it. Give me the Broncos in this one. This is the first time we switch it up. I could tie it up here, or I could be down 2 and pretty much call it done even. But
Hey, man.
Bo Nix coming off a 3-touchdown, 3-interception game, 31-13 win over the Colts. Yes, it wasn't a fantastic performance from him, but it was
Pretty
enough to
ugly
get it done. And that's what you
against
care
the
about.
Colts.
And the Chargers don't throw the ball. So it doesn't matter if Patrick Surtain's in the game or not. So, nonetheless, I think I like the Broncos in this one. I think the defense probably just goes into zone and says, cool, if you want to run your crossing routes, fine, go for it. But we're going to sit on that all day long. So go ahead and give me Bo Nix and the Broncos in this one. Now, our next one, Steelers-Ravens, this is a rivalry to the max. I mean, this is
Another
bad
playoff
blood
position game
between these two ball clubs. Danger Russ has been going for the Steelers, and he's really been playing well. You thought, man, why did you take out Justin Fields for him? And he's really been able to get it done. And again, we talk about it. It's a playoff position game. These two teams pride themselves on being in the postseason. We know what Mike Tomlin and the Steelers stand for and what he stands for as a coach, and that's always getting into the postseason. But the Ravens do have that two-headed monster in the backfield with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So I think for this one, I'm gonna go with a safe pick. And I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think that they come into this one as favorites. I think they come into this one just needing to get business taken care of. And that's really what the Ravens stand for, is taking care of business. So go ahead and give me a bounce back game for Derrick Henry, and I'll go with the Ravens Saturday, 3 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know this game ain't gonna decide nothing for us, because I'm gonna also ride with
Okay.
them purple
All right.
boys over there with the Ravens. I mean, the Steelers has been struggling since George Pickens went down with his hamstring injury,
Right.
and there's no notice saying that he may be back. I honestly think they're gonna hold out on him to the playoff start, as they should, since they already clinched a playoff position, regardless of what happens for the rest of the year. And just based off that, and the Ravens still trying to get in good contention to try to get a bye week. So I'm gonna ride with the Ravens this week as well.
Okay. I like it. Now our next one, NFC East rivalry matchup. Again, this one also not the best of friends here. Eagles versus Commanders, 12 p.m. Central Time on a Sunday. You know what, man? I hear all the chitter chatter going out in Philadelphia. Give me the Commanders in this one. Give me the Commanders. Give me Jaden Daniels to get this thing done, man. Hey, Scary Terry is scary indeed. Scary Terry is scary indeed, man. So go ahead and give me the Commanders in this one. I'm guessing you're probably going the other way.
Hey, look, what I'm gonna say is more blessings, more powers to you. Because, brother man, the fact that you put your season on the line right now on a rookie quarterback for the Commanders, hey, take your bow right now. We don't even gotta wait till next week, because Philadelphia is gonna walk into Washington and get this win. I mean, Commanders, they were struggling against the Saints last week. What are we talking about? The Eagles are arguably one of the best teams in the NFC right now.
It's just a very Eagles thing to do. It's a very Eagles thing to do.
You know
I've been
what?
watching NFC East football for a long time now. And it's a very Eagles thing to do.
You're right. And that's your power right there. Your Cowboys biases is getting it away for you to compete for this belt at the end. But you know what? If you just want to hand it to me, I'll gladly take it. So give me the Eagles walking into Washington and beating the Commanders. Let's go ahead
Okay.
and lock it in.
Okay.
Don't take
Now,
backsies. This is it.
now, in the case that we end up tied before this game starts,
We're not.
we're not. But either way, let's just have some funsies with it. Jaguars, Raiders, really game of the year right now is what the media is predicting it to be, game of the year. Yeah. I said it's a game this year. I said it's a game this year.
Yeah,
It's a game this
yeah.
year. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
It is a game.
It is a game. It is a NFL sanctioned game. Jaguars, Raiders. I don't even know. I don't even know where to go with it. You know, man, screw it. Give me the Jags. Give me the Jags, bro. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, that's it. Give me the Jags.
Oh my God. You know, just to make this shit funny, just in case we end up in this position, give me the fucking Raiders. We can't pick the same team. If we get to this point, I'm riding my season on the line with Brock Bowers and whatever substitute quarterback they feel like playing with.
I was about to say, brother, before the game, outside the stadium, they're going to be like, all right, passing contest. Whoever throws it the farthest, you're suiting up for this week, bro. Whatever number you want. And we're going to throw Brock Bowers to the right and Brock Bowers to the left, and then up the middle.
You know what I'm saying? And
that's
we gonna figure it out. But I'm gonna ride with the black and silver boys, and we go right into the wheels fall off. Fuck it.
Oh my God, man. But that is our NFL games for y'all. Go ahead. Again, tune in next week. You'll figure out the conclusion of how this thing goes down. We'll both be watching each one of those games. Now, I don't know quite about the Steelers and Ravens because Horns are in the first round of the playoff. But nonetheless, we will definitely be checking out that Eagles-Commanders game because that one's going to be good, in that Broncos-Chargers game on prime time. So for not the final time, but the second to final time, I want to thank you so very much for tuning in this week. A-Dub, send us out of here, man.
Man, appreciate y'all for being on the journey with us for this long. I mean, if you're tuning into this episode, I believe you recently came from the other episodes and came through a full season on our first season, by the way.
Yeah.
Crash Out League TV. I mean, we was learning as we was going, just like you guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Figuring this stuff out. But I think, as we got towards the end, we kind of figured out our relationship with each other here, being co-hosts with each other, what we need to bring to you guys and keep it entertaining and fresh and new. So we just appreciate y'all for, tuning in and keeping us going and everything. And shout out to all the coaches throughout the season. I know some of you guys already at home on the couch. Some of y'all even taking trips to Mexico and Cancun already. You know what I mean?
Flights are
At
booked.
the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? I hope that you still tune in to these episodes because it's entertaining enough. You know what I mean? But once again, like, subscribe, comment. It helps a lot. It puts us out there more. And I mean, it's not the last one. You know what I mean? So we'll be back next week.
We'll be back.
Don't let this outro get you twisted and mixed up. We'll be back next week for one more. But appreciate y'all once again for giving us this love. It's your host, A-Dub. And I'm with my co-host, Manny Boy. And we gonna see you guys next week.